breakthrough discoveries or better diagnostics. I think it's in creating smarter and more empowered patients that can fully participate and advocate for themselves in their care.
Speaking of that, you've been testing GPT-5. What do you think?
I've been so mind blown about GPT-5 and its capabilities. One of the first things that jumps out at me is just how fast it is. Almost a little alarmingly at first.
I felt that too. It's like, are you sure you thought about that enough?
Did you think long enough? But it is very thorough. And more importantly, it feels more like a thought partner that connects the dots. So rather than just translating information or giving you an answer, it helps you actually navigate the problem.
Yeah, a great example is we actually went back and took our initial biopsy prompts and put them into GPT-5. And GPT-4o had done a great job. It had translated, explained what these words meant, and helped in a way that we can understand. But GPT-5 seemed to understand more of the context and the question behind the question. Like, why would we be asking biopsy results? And so I said, well, here's actually what's not on here yet. Here's what results are still pending that you're going to have to ask about. Here are questions you might want to go ask your doctor and think when you start talking to them. And so it really started to pull together a complete personalized picture. And that's what really inspires us. I mean, you can see all the amazing improvements in the benchmarks. But what is so helpful is that this tool is available today. And the reason Carolina and I are here and the reason we feel so passionate about sharing our story is for that individual that's going to get a diagnosis like this today. Those families going through a cancer diagnosis, similar medical diagnosis, are going to face some of the most challenging decisions of their lives. And what really inspires me is that they're going to have access to better tools and support than we had even just 8 months ago.
I think we're incredibly excited for that too. Thank you so much for coming to share your story. We're pleased that ChatGPT has been able to be helpful to you, and we hope that the new version will really be able to help a lot of people. We wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to hand it over to our president, Greg Brockman.
Software engineering is already fundamentally changing, and GPT-5 will turbocharge that revolution. We released our first coding-optimized model back in 2021 and demonstrated in a live stream, much like this one, what we would call vibe coding today for the very first time. You talk to the model and ask it for a little application, like a little game, a little feature in a game. They can really amplify what you're able to accomplish and what you're able to deliver to not just your own benefit, but really for the world. Now, this year, we've released great coding models like GPT 4.1 and o3, but GPT-5 sets a whole new standard. It is the best model at agentic coding tasks.
Open source model ကိုပြောမလားကျွန်တော်ဒီမှာအဓိကစောင့်နေရပါတော့။ဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့ open source ပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်ဝယ်စရာမလိုတော့ဘူးလေ
Very beautiful visualizations and
open source ပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင် ChatGPT ဝယ်တုံးစရာမလိုတော့ဘူးဗျာ DeepSeek လို့ပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်သူကဒီနေ့ open source model OSS ပေါ့နော်။တင်ညာမယ်ပြောထားတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့မတင်ညာဘူးလို့ထင်တာပဲ ဘာလို့ဆိုဆောနာကဒီYouTuber တယောက်ကဒီ GPT-5 ကိုသုံးတဲ့ဗီဒီယိုပေါ့နော်pre upload လုပ်ထားရှိတယ်အဲ့ဒီမှာဘာဖြစ်သွားလဲဆိုတော့သူပြောတဲ့အထက်မှာသူကိုယ်တိုင်လည်းဆန်းပြီးတော့ရေး print နေရေးပြတယ် print နေရေးပြပေမဲ့အရင်ထူးခြားသွားလို့မထင်ရဘူးဗျာဘယ်လိုပဲထင်ရလဲဆိုတော့Android ကိုမှUI အုပ်လိုက်လို့ပုံစံမျိုးပဲဒါတောင်မှတချို့ feature တွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ထူထူကောင်းလာတယ်လို့မခံစားရဘူးပေါ့နော် normal user အတွက်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင် developer အတွက်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့မိုက်ကောင်းမိုက်လိမ့်မယ်ပေါ့နော်ဒါပေမဲ့ normal user advanced user ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့DC open source model ကတော့ပိုကောင်းမယ်ပေါ့နော်ဘာလို့ဆိုတော့ပတ်စံလေးသုံးစရာမလို commercial ယူလေးသုံးလို့ရတယ်လေ
Minimal. And this is so that you can use these reasoning models, but with minimal reasoning, so that they can slot into the very fastest and most latency-sensitive applications. So now you don't actually have to choose between a bunch of models, and you can use GPT-5 for all of your use cases and just dial in the reasoning effort. We also have a few new features coming to the API. The first is called custom tools. In the past, all of our function calling had the model wrap its outputs in JSON, and this works super well when the model needs to output a few parameters. But sometimes, developers are pushing our models to their limits, and they have extremely long arguments for tool calls. And it can be more challenging for the models to escape, valid control characters out of 100 lines of code in JSON. And that's why custom tools are just free-form, plain text. And what's super cool is that we're releasing an extension to structured outputs where you can supply a regular expression or even a context-free grammar and constrain the model's outputs to that. And this will be super useful if you want to supply like a custom DSL, if you have your own SQL fork, and specify that the model always follow that format. We're also shipping tool call preambles. And this is the model's ability to output explanation of what it's about to do before it calls tools. This is not super new, but O3 didn't have this capability. And in GPT-5, it's supercharged with extreme steerability. The model is able to follow instructions about these preambles very effectively. You can ask the model to give a preamble before every tool call, or only when something notable is going to happen, or not at all. Next, we're shipping a verbosity parameter. We've actually wanted this in the API for a long time, and now you can set verbosity to low, medium, and high to control how terse or expansive the model is with its outputs. GPT-5 is a state-of-the-art coding model. On Sweetbench, a measure of Python coding ability, GPT-5 sets a new high of 74.9% versus the 69.1% from O3. On Aider Polyglot, which is a benchmark that covers all sorts of programming languages and not just Python, GPT-5 scores 88%, a stark improvement over O3. You've also seen that it's incredible at front-end web development. And so we've asked human trainers to look at outputs from GPT-5 and O3 and pick which they prefer. And they prefer GPT-5 70% of the time for its improved aesthetic abilities, but also better capabilities overall. But GPT-5 is not just for coding. It's incredible at agentic tool calling. It's the leading state-of-the-art model for tool calling, and we see this on the new tau squared benchmark. This benchmark, released, is a test of the model's ability to call tools and work in concert with the user to solve a challenging problem. This case in the telecom industry, so trying to solve the problem for a user not having their service working. Just 2 months ago, no model in the field scored more than 49%, and today, GPT-5 scores 97%. GPT-5 is also state-of-the-art on general-purpose instruction following. It scores 99% on Collie, which signals a great departure for this benchmark for us. It also scores 70% on Scale's multi-challenge benchmark, up 10 points from O3. And this is a measure of multi-turn instruction following. Finally, the instruction following eval I actually prefer the most is one we've built in-house. It's based on real API use cases, and for that reason, it's a really good measure of how GPT-5 will perform in your application. On the hard subset of this, GPT-5 scores 64%, up from 47% from O3, a pretty meaningful improvement. So we think it will perform quite well in your applications. We're also bringing GPT-5 to a longer context window in the API. It's now got 400K of total context, up from 200K from O3. But it's not enough to just release a longer context window. We wanted to make it more effective and usable. And GPT-5 is state-of-the-art on the 128K to 256K of OpenAI MRCR, which is a benchmark we open sourced 2 months ago on long context retrieval capability. It's also state-of-the-art on OpenAI's GraphSwalk's BFS benchmark, which is a measure of the model's ability to reason over long context inputs. It's a great merger of the reasoning capabilities and also the longer context in this model. We're also open sourcing a new long context eval called BrowseComp Long Context to measure the model's ability to answer challenging questions over long context. We're excited to spur on more work in this field. We think GPT-5 is the best model for developers. It was trained with a focus on real-world utility and less so on benchmarks, but we happened to pick up a few of those along the way. We focused a lot on the intersection of engineering and research, and we think you'll really love working with this model.
Thank you, Michelle. As Michelle was saying, the benchmarks, they're exciting numbers, but we're starting to saturate them. Like when you're moving between 98 and 99% in some benchmark, it means you need something else to really capture how great the model is.
multi-language ဘိုင်းနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော်တော်လေးအားစိုက်ထားတယ်ပြောတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့ local မှာကလူတွေကကြတော့ DeepSeek ကပိုကောင်းတဲ့ choice ဖြစ်နေတော့မယ်ဗျာဘာလို့လဲဆိုတော့translation လုပ်တဲ့အခါမှာ DeepSeek ရဲ့model ရှိတယ်သူက King 900လား400လားမသိဘူးအဲ့လောက်ကြော်ရဗျအဲ့ model ကကျွန်တော်တို့ GPU ကောင်းကောင်းရှိမယ် CPU ကလည်းဘောနော် normal ပေါ့နော် normal ဆိုတဲ့ပြော mirroring CPU လောက်ရှိမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှင် translation လုပ်ဖို့တော့ကတော်တော်လေးအဆင်ပြေနေပြီပေါ့နော်ဒီနိုင်ငံခြားစာအုပ်တွေ translate လုပ်မှဖြစ်ဖြစ်ပေါ့နော်အချိန်ကုန်တက်တာတယ်ပေါ့နော်အရင်တော့ဆို Google Translate နဲ့လုပ်တယ်ဗျဒါပေမဲ့ Google ရဲ့ဒီ translation process ကတည့်တဲ့အတိုင်းပဲသူတို့ကcommercial using မို့လို့ upgrade မပေးဘူးဗျာ upgrade မပေးတော့ကျတော့ error အရင်များတယ်ပေါ့နော်အဲ့လိုဟာကြီးတော်တော်လေးနည်းသွားမလို့သူပြောပြထားတယ်
So last month I was on a different live stream, and towards the end I ran into a bug that I covered up. And afterwards I tried to have GPT-3 fix it for me, and it couldn't. So while we were testing GPT-5 before this, I had it see if it could fix that bug for me. And to taunt the demo gods, I'm going to see if it can do it on stage.
ပြီးတော့တစ်ခုရှိတာကကျွန်တော်နည်းနည်းစိတ်ဝင်စားတဲ့အရာတစ်ခုရှိတာဗာလဲဆိုတော့သူကဆွမ်းနာစာအရေးသားပိုင်းမှာပိုးကောင်းလာတယ်သူပြောသွားတယ်ဆိုတော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကသူအရေးသားပိုးကောင်းလာတယ်များလူကရေးရတယ်လူကမရေးဘူးဆိုတာ ਨੇ ဘယ်လိုခွဲခြားကြမလဲဆိုတာပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒါကိုတော်တော်လေးပြန်တွေးရမယ်ပုံစံပေါက်လာပြီပေါ့နော်နောက်တစ်ခုကအဲ့လိုမျိုးဖြစ်သွားလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်တို့တွေဒီစာအရေးသားနဲ့ပတ်သက်တဲ့ပညာရေးစနစ်ကြီးရအောင်ဘယ်လိုဖြစ်သွားမလဲပေါ့နော်ဘာလို့ဆို AI ရေးတာတော်တော်လေးရေးတယ်နေကြကိုယ်တစ်ချောင်းလောက်ပြရလို့ရှိရင်မဆိုစကားတစ်ခွန်းပြောလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်လူတွေကစာပိုက်တွေအများကြီးကြိုက်လို့ရပြီသိလားဟိုမှာငါ့ကိုစာပိုက်အကြီးတစ်ခုကောင်းမွန်ရေးပြီးဆိုတော့ကောင်းမွန်တစ်ခုရေးပေးတာဖြစ်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ပြောချင်တာဆရာဆရာမတွေတဲ့စာကျောင်းသားကိုလိုက်စစ်နေမှာမဟုတ်ဘူးဗျာသိလားကျောင်းသားတွေကအများကြီးဆရာဆရာမတွေဆိုနည်းနည်းလေးဖြစ်နေမှာပဲလေဆိုတော့အဲ့ရပိုင်းနဲ့ပတ်သက်နည်းနည်းစိတ်ဝင်စားတယ်ပေါ့နော်သူတို့တွေဘယ်လို counter part ပြန်လုပ်ပေးနိုင်မလဲမလုပ်ပေးနိုင်ဘူးလား
like cursor, and we identified frustrations and rough edges, and we boiled it all down into 4 personality traits: autonomy, collaboration, communication, context management, and testing. We turned those into a rubric that we used to shape the model's behavior, and then we tuned it until it felt like a collaborative teammate while we were using it.
It's been really amazing to see the team really doing the grind of like going and seeing how this model behaves in practice, figuring out what people really want, and putting that back into model training. That's something that I think has been like a real focus for this model.
It's been pretty great. So while this is fixing, the other thing that we did during testing, which was really surprising, was we were sort of pressed for time. And we had it refactor one of our test harnesses to run parallel on Docker, and set it off. Came back like 45 minutes later, it's just like it just finished, and we tested it out and it ran the first time. It was pretty surprising.
That's incredible.
That is magical.
Okay, so it made the edits. It looks like, yeah, it found the right problem. And right now it's actually, okay, it's running lints, but these lints are actually not related to this bug, so it's going to ignore them. And then it's going to run a build, it'll run tests if there are any. It's going to make sure that this code is shippable before it's done.
It's actually really smart that it finds lints and realizes that these aren't relevant to the specific bug we're fixing. It's not making unnecessary edits.
Totally. So This is just one example, but it really shows the power of the autonomy and the collaborative communication and how it stays reliable on difficult coding tasks without getting stuck on death loops. And the best part, GPT-5 is totally tunable. You can steer it with system prompts or cursor rules. You can change its verbosity levels or reasoning levels to match your tasks. And if you get stuck, ask it. GPT-5 is actually really good at modifying its own prompts by meta-prompting. So after using this for the past few weeks, it really feels like we've achieved state-of-the-art, zero-shot performance and reliability across the most complex coding tasks. For me, it's the first time I trust a model to do my most important work. This is beyond vibe coding. It's an incredibly powerful tool, and I'm really excited for people to try it.
Thanks, Brian. It's super exciting to see how far GPT-5 has come when it comes to coding personality and steerability. I'm really excited to show how great
ပြောထားရဗျာသူပြောထားတာဗာလေဟိုသူ့အလုပ်တွေခိုင်းလို့ရနေတော်တော်များပေါ့နော်သူမလို့တော့ဘာညာ maybe short term man long term မမှန်
So imagine you're the CFO of a startup. I have some data that I'd like to visualize about the company, and I'm going to ask the model to make me a dashboard. So you'll see here that I'm being specific about
သူကအလုပ်နဲ့ဟိုအပြော်တန်းသုံးမလားအလုပ်ကိုအလုပ်လုပ်ဖို့သုံးမလားဆိုပြီးတော့ model ပြနေခုက
and I've asked it to be beautiful, tastefully designed with some interactivity, and to have a clear hierarchy for easy focus on what matters. I've also specified what frameworks it should use, and you can see that it's actually started, it's following my instructions and using create next app to make a Next.js project.
So totally from scratch.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, how long do you think this kind of task would take you to take?
Easily at least a couple of days. I'm not a front-end expert. Just to understand the latest frameworks and piece everything together would, easily take me a few days.
We'll see how long it takes with the model.
Yeah. And it's really cool to see that the model has thought for a bit, and it's explaining how it's going to structure the project. So it's talking about how it's going to scaffold a new Next.js app. It's going to use Tailwind CSS. It's running a couple of commands to install dependencies, which is cool. And now it's proceeding to implement the rest of the project. So while this runs, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we trained GPT-5 to be a great front-end coding model. We tried to...
အခု CSS နဲ့တူ JS လား Node.js လားအဲ့နှစ်ခုကိုပေါင်းပြီးတော့ကုတ်ရေးတဲ့ဥစ္စာသူပြနေ
Intent and make something that looks great by default. On the other hand, if I'm specific about a layout or frameworks that I want the model to use, it should follow my instructions precisely. And this makes it the best of both worlds for developers. We also trained GPT-5 to be much more agentic than previous models. So if you give it a task like this, it will run long chains of reasoning and tool calls and just go to work to build code that is both ambitious and coherent.
I like how you said ambitious because it means it goes above and beyond without going off track or off what you specified.
Yeah, exactly. So what we want is the model should adhere to my prompt, but also
So why not to be honest, it should follow my
go above and beyond when it thinks it can.
prompt ဆိုတာဖြစ်တယ်ဗောနော်တကယ်တော့ AI ဆိုတာ
And
ကျွန်
so
တော်
checking
ပြော
in
လို့ပဲ
here,
follow လုပ်မှရမှာ
looks like
ဒီ
the
လား
model
it should ဆိုတာဖြစ်တယ်
is making progress. It's creating a README file.
should တယ်မသားတော့နေတင်းနေပြောချင်တာသူလုပ်တိုင်းလည်းဖြစ်ချင်မှဖြစ်မယ်ဆိုရဲပုံစံပါနေပြတကယ်တော့ကိုလုပ်တိုင်းမဖြစ်ဘူးဆိုလို့ဘာလို့ AI တော့လုံးမှာကိုဘာတူပဲလုပ်တော့မှာပေါ့ဟုတ်တယ်မလား
Continuing here.
I love that it doesn't just write the code, it also
Yeah.
really thinks about
ဘာလို့ဆိုပြအပြင်လောကမှာဗီဒီယို edit လုပ်မှလားစာရေးမှလားဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဟိုဆုံးဖြတ်ရတဲ့အချိန်ကစက္ကန့်နဲ့ဆုံးဖြတ်ရတာဗျာတိလားအလုပ်လုပ်ပြီးတော့စာရေးဆိုရေးလိုက်ကွက်ဆိုအဲ့ပြီးတော့မှကို idea ရသွားအဲ့ idea တစ်ခါလေးပြန်မှတ်မိချင်မှမှတ်မိတော့ဗျာတိလားဆိုတော့ကျတော့ကျွန်တော်တူးလိုက်တဲ့ပုံစံအတိုင်းလိုက်ပြီးမတွေးနိုင်အောင်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ကျွန်တော်အတူရပြန်လို့တော့မှာ
Understands details much better than previous models. So when we trained the model, we taught it to understand details like typography, color, and spacing in a way that just eclipses any previous model we've shipped. Like, I remember with old models, you would have to write really specific prompts to get it to do what you want. but GPT-5 just gives you great results by default.
During testing, we were looking at the A's and B's for different versions of the model to see if it was doing better at UI. And at some point, we stopped being able to tell and actually had to pull in.
သူက typing လုပ်တဲ့ typography ပေါ့နော်စာရေးအတာပြီးလို့ရှိရင် color နဲ့ space တွေကိုပိုနားလဲလာတယ်လို့ပြောတယ်
Yeah, I think in general, I feel like the model has better aesthetics than me. Like usually I defer to its judgment. And I find that like really helpful when I'm trying to make an app. Like I'm not exactly sure how I want it to look, but the model's defaults are just great.
ဒီနေ့သူ Sam Altman ပြောတဲ့ဥစ္စာကသူတို့ရဲ့ဒီ OpenAI ကလုပ်တဲ့ဟို live stream တွေမှာအကြဆုံး live stream ဖြစ်မယ်လို့ပြောတယ်တနားကြီးကြာမယ်လို့လည်းပြောထားတယ်ဂျားထဲမှာသူအခုနည်းနည်းမိနစ်နေတော့ရှိနေသူပြောနေရဆိုပေမဲ့ဘာခံစားရလဲဆိုတော့ဟိုပါဗျာသူတို့ကိုသူတို့ပြန်ရှင်းနေအောင်မှန်တယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ DeepSeek ကို find နိုင်တဲ့ဥစ္စာတစ်ခုမှပေါ်လာတယ်လို့ကျွန်တော်မမြင်သေးဘူးကျွန်တော်တို့အများတော့အဖြစ်အာရှဘက်မှာဆိုရင် DeepSeek ကခုထိကို language translation ဘက်မှာသုံးဖို့အဆင်ပြေဆုံးဖြစ်နေတော့မယ်ဒါကတော့ညင်းမရဘူး
And this is, for me, this was just a profound moment to see that the model could write code, but also run builds, stream the errors back, and iterate on the code. So it's
ဆောင်းနာတော့ကဒီ YouTuber ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ YouTuber ကလည်းသူတင်တဲ့အထက်မှာသူ touch trick game ကျွန်တော်တို့ငယ်တော့ဟို game cloud လေးနေလေဟို computer တွေထားပြကျွန်တော်တို့9000လား6000လားမသိဘူးပေးရတယ်လေ cloud လေးရှိရဲအဲ့ဒါနဲ့ဟိုလေးလုံးဆက် touch trick ကိုမှဟိုအတန်းလေးပြေသွားလို့ရှင်ပျော့သွားတဲ့ game လေးအဲ့ဒါဆော့တာအဲ့ဒီဆော့ရဲ့ဥစ္စာကိုfan နီးတာပေါ့နော် fan နီးတော့ကျတော့အရင် GPT model နဲ့လည်းပြန်ရှင်ပြီးသူ fan နီးပြတယ်အဲ့ဒီအချိန်မှာဖြစ်လဲဆိုအရင် GPT model မှာတော့ကသူက game ပဲလုပ်လို့ရအခု GPT-5 မှာကသူကဟို function ဘေးမှာပေါ့နော်ဘယ်လိုကြာလာမယ်ဘယ်တုံးကြာလာမယ်ပြီးလို့ရှိရင်ကိုယ့်ရဲ့ command ဘယ်လိုဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့ဥစ္စာကို test အနေနဲ့ထပ်ပေါ်လာတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်တို့က game ဆော့လို့ရနေပြီလားအဲ့ test ဆိုတဲ့ဥစ္စာကြီးက user experience အနေနဲ့ပဲဖြစ်သွားတာ functionality ကောင်းလာတာမဟုတ်ဘူးဗျာဘယ်လိုပြောလဲ experience အနေနဲ့ကောင်းလာတယ် functionality ရဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဒီတိုင်းပဲဗျာဆိုတော့
You can see that revenue is growing. And the model's added like some interactivity here. So if I hover over a graph, it actually tells me the exact value for a particular day.
It would take me like 5 hours to do that in D3.
Yeah, imagine like manually doing this in D3. It's just like...
Now, just because it's so easy to take this for granted, could you remind the audience what the actual prompt was? Like how much creativity and sort of understanding your intent was required to accomplish this?
Yeah, it's crazy that this prompt is so concise and it's able to just give me something that looks beautiful in just 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's also implemented another graph here showing our customers.
သူ data
It's
analyze
also
လုပ်တာတော့
implemented a
အခု
date
ကြည့်ရ
picker,
တော်
so
တော်
I
ကောင်းတာ
can
လို့
sort
ထင်
of
တယ်ဘာလို့
filter
ဆို
by different dates and
ဟို
visualize
prompt ရေး
data
လိုက်တာနဲ့
accordingly.
တန်းပြီးတော့
Yeah, it's even sort of
လုပ်ပြနိုင်တဲ့
segmented
ဥ
it
စ္စာ
by
က
customer.
ကျွန်တော်တို့ Excel တွေပိုင်းမှာသွားပြီးတော့
customer segment, which is cool.
တင်တာ typing
So this is just one example that
ကိုကောင်း
highlights
ပါ
the
ဒါပေ
power
မဲ့
of
ဟို
GPT-5.
ဒီ data ကြပြန်လုပ်မယ်
There
ဆို
will
လို့
no
ရှိရင်
longer
တော့
be excuse for ugly
Go on,
internal
Mia Lao.
applications.
Exactly.
ဟို for sure fan အနေနဲ့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့
Let's go to the fun demo.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this was pretty fun, but even more.
ဘာလို့ဆို local မှာကဟိုကျွန်တော်ပြည်တွင်းမှာတည့်တဲ့အတိုင်းပဲ official မရဘူးဗျာဆိုတော့ company တွေနဲ့သူတို့ရဲ့ data တွေ leak ဖြစ်ခံမှာမဟုတ်အဲ့ခါကျလို့ရှိရင် GPT model တွေသွားတုံနေတာက professional မဆန်ဘူးပေါ့နော်တခြားနိုင်ငံရောက်သွားတယ်အဲ့လို GPT ကို legal ရသုံးရတဲ့နိုင်ငံမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ this is ဘယ်လိုပြောနော်ဟိုအထက်လူကြီးကလာပြောလို့ရှိရင် quest ကောက်ရလိုက်အောင်
So you can see my prompt. Create a beautiful castle. I've included some details like we want people patrolling the walls, some movement, horses, and I want a mini game where I can pop balloons by clicking on them, and this should make a sound effect. So let me run this in Cursor. I'll just paste it in, and I'm going to show an example that I've already generated just to save some time. So here is the beautiful castle that the model made. So it's just wild how, from a concise prompt, the model has this great sense of aesthetics where it's made this like floating rock, made a 3D castle, and if you zoom in, you can see like tons of detail. like these guards that are walking
firing.
around, cannons firing. Do you want to fire the cannons if you click
Oh,
this
yes,
button?
of course.
Who wouldn't want to?
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. So you can fire the cannons. You can even chat with the characters. So we'll say hi to Captain Rowan. Nice. Give me some wisdom. Curiosity is volatile. Yeah, that makes sense.
Minigame.
Yeah. Do you guys want to try the minigame?
Absolutely.
Let's play the minigame.
So if you hit this button, you want to try, Greg?
All right.
So you can fire at these balloons.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not good at it. Hold on. Maybe I can ask GPT-5 for some help with it.
Yeah, a little
Oh,
experience.
you hit one.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got one. Oh, there we go. We got a sound
There's a
effect.
sound effect.
အခုကြည့်ရအောင်ဘာကြည့်ရအောင်မိုက်တော့မိုက်တယ်ဗျဒါပေမဲ့ကျွန်တော်ပြောချင်တာ Chinese ဖြစ်နေတယ်အခုနေ့
So working with GPT-5 has been really fun and profound for me because for me, this is the first model I've worked with that actually has a sense of creativity. And we're really excited to see how GPT-5 unlocks your creativity.
All right. Thank you both. This is absolutely amazing. Now, we believe that GPT-5 is the best coding model in the world. But don't just hear it from us. To talk more about this model and how to make it really useful for developers, I'd like to welcome Michael Truell, who is the co-founder and CEO of Cursor.
တလောက်ပဲလား business တိုင်းက business ပိုင်းဘာမှသိမပါလိုက်ဘူးလေ business ပိုင်းဘာမှသိရပြောတော့
with GPT-5.
So when we got access to GPT-5, we just set about using it on our actual work. And so to start with, as a test, we asked it to tell us something non-obvious about our code base. And within a couple of minutes, it buried into the code base. It identified a particular system that we use for remote code execution. And it identified a
GPT
non-obvious architecture.
live stream လုပ်တာအောက်မှာ comment section တွေပေါ့ပိတ်ထားတယ်စိတ်မှကြောက်လားမသိ
And it was to harden our security. And those were architecture decisions and trade-offs that took humans weeks to think through. So it was kind of amazing to see its code base understanding abilities from the get-go.
That's really great. Not just the code writing, but actually the code reading and understanding.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Turns out there's so much more to software than just the emitting of the code.
Yes, yes. No, the understanding is an important prerequisite.
And what has most stood out to you about GPT-5?
It's incredibly smart. It's a very smart model. And even though it is smart, it does not compromise on its ease of use.
ဆိုတော့ခုတ်ရေးတဲ့ဘိုင်းကိုသူကပြအခုကကုတ်ဖတ်တဲ့ဘိုင်းကို reading ဘိုင်းကိုပေါ့နော်ပြန်ပြီးတော့နည်းနည်းပြောမယ်ပြောရင်
Down into subproblems that a human can then see, and leaving a reasoning trace that you can then intervene on and react to. It's also great not just at you give it one initial query and then it goes and does that, but working with you over a long session where you're asking it to backtrack on something that it's gone down, or asking it to make additional changes to the code base.
Should we show it in action?
Let's do it. Yes. So I think we are going to go and we're going to try and solve a bug. And so this is the OpenAI Python SDK. There are a bunch of issues in the OpenAI Python SDK. There are also a lot of closed issues.
Okay, good.
And it seems like there's a problem with uploading PDFs through the SDK.
This has been open for 3 weeks. So
Open
it's
for 3 weeks.
not a trivial problem.
Yeah. And so let's see if we can go tackle this issue. So we're going to take the issue, we're going to paste it into the editor, paste it into Cursor, and GPT-5 is going to set off and try and solve the problem. And this is actually an example of the robustness of the model in the API, where to solve this problem in Cursor, it's working with a set of custom models that it hasn't seen before, a set of custom tools that it hasn't seen before, to do things like pull down text from the web, to search throughout the code base, and it's incredibly robust and adept at using those tools, and they boost eval results.
Yeah, I love seeing just the full explanation of all the things that it's running and doing. And I guess, how does this seem to compare to how you would solve this problem?
Well, let's wait.
ပိုင်တွင်အကြောင်းတို့ပြောတယ်ပြောပိုင်တွင်ကိုမေးအဓိကတော့ညာလားမသိဘူးချက်ကြည့်ဒီအဲ့လို
Continued searching, and now it's kind of thinking through what it'd like to do next. And now it's started to actually solve the issue, and started to think through much before. I would take some of your more scoped down problems and try handing them off to the bot and working with it synchronously.
Yeah, I think the fact that GPT-5 is so great for the real world, like big code bases, like doing your daily driver, not just this like demo of a cool one-off application. As cool as that is, right? The real value comes from really operating in a larger code base and
Definitely.
of these long-lived applications.
Definitely. And its code base understanding is very impressive. Also, its ability to be steered is impressive. And so, yeah, if you specify a long, complicated task with lots of subtleties in the initial instructions, it's very good at picking up on those subtleties. It's also very good at, if it's gone down a wrong path and actually goes and executes the code or hears back from you that it was incorrect, it's very good at backtracking too.
Now, what can't GPT-5 do?
Well, we're really excited about computer using capabilities, about those getting better. It would be great if, for instance, the dashboard Adi just showed, if it could run the code, see the output, actually, kind of QA every little bit itself, and then react to it. So looking forward to computer using capabilities. How would you like GPT-5 to be better?
Oh, well, I think that is a great one, right? It's just expanding the dimensions, right? I think it's in all directions, right? That there's so much of like doing DevOps and other work that is external to software code writing as we think of it today. But also you look at these demos, right? We run them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a couple hours, but I think extending that life cycle to really be able to go for days and weeks and eventually even months, I think that is ultimately where we expect things to go.
So we can see that it has buried into the code base and discovered that there's an issue with the MIME or the MIME typing being sent up for PDFs and the plumbing through the SDK. It has identified that and it started making some code changes. And this, it's created some new methods. It's gone and edited some existing code. And this looks roughly correct.
Looks pretty good.
And would love to merge the PR too.
I would love to do that as well.
Yeah.
Let's do that after the show.
Yes, that sounds great. Awesome.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much. We're so excited to have GPT-5 in Cursor. Starting today.
Excited to partner with you guys. And so starting today, GPT-5 is default for new users in Cursor, and we're releasing it to all Cursor users, free to try for the next few days so people get a sense of the model. And it is the smartest coding model we've ever tried.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thanks.
Coding, but it's great for the enterprise. We think of it like it's great for the enterprise. We think of it like a
ကပ်စာကုတ်လုပ်တဲ့ coding software user တွေအတွက်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင် integration ထည့်ပေးရမယ်တူတယ်သူ free နဲ့တူတယ် ကပ်စာဝယ်မယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင် free ရမယ်နဲ့တူတယ်
Thank you, Greg. Hi, everyone. I'm Olivier. I lead the platform at OpenAI. At this point, I think you got the message. We care a ton about developers and coding.
legal AI နဲ့ခိုင်းမယ်ဆိုတော့နည်းနည်းစားတယ်ဟောဒီတိုင်းတော့ correction တွေများနေဥစား
Such as healthcare, education, energy, or finance. Since we launched ChatGPT and the API, 5 million businesses have been using our technology. I'm still mind blown. 5 million businesses. And those businesses are not just playing. They're not just experimenting. They are pushing in production new products in the real world. And I believe GPT-5 is going to be a step function with that regard. As Sam mentioned earlier, the possibility
AI governance 5 million business တွေတုံးနေဟုတ်ပါကြည့်ကြရပေါ့
Amgen is a company in the US that designs new drugs, new medicines to fight some of the toughest human diseases. Amgen was GPT-5, and they used it in the context of drug design. And what Amgen scientists found is that GPT-5 is particularly good at deep reasoning with complex data. Think analyzing scientific literature or clinical data. Next, I want to talk about finance. BBVA is a multinational bank which is headquartered in Madrid, in Spain. BBVA has been using GPT-5 for financial analysis. And the takeaway was pretty clear. GPT-5 beats every single other model out there in terms of accuracy and speed.
သူကဒီဗာလေ fine tune လောက်မှာပိုကောင်းလာမယ်ပြောရဲဒီကျမ်းမာရေးနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့စေဝါထုတ်လို့ရတဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ GPT က fine tune လောက်အောင်ပဲပေါ့နော် company နဲ့သူတို့ရဲ့ fine tune model လေးလောက်ထားမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ပိုပြီးကောင်းလာမယ်ပြောရဲ
Think mapping complex medical policy to patient conditions. It's not all about businesses, it's also about governments. We are super excited by the announcement that we made yesterday that
စီးပွားရေးလုပ်ငန်းတွေမှာလည်း ransomware attack ပေါ့နော်အဲ့ဒါနေကာကွယ်ပေးနိုင်မယ်ပြောတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့အဲ့ဒါလည်း corporate တွေကိုပဲညွှန်းမှာပါဘယ်လိုနေပုံမှန် SME တွေကတော့လိုအပ်မှာမဟုတ်ဘူး giant တက်တွေပဲပို့ပြီးကောင်းစားမှာပဲ
history is a teacher, and we've seen it with GPT-4. We are going to see many use cases emerge over the coming weeks and months that all of us could not even imagine. And so,
Federal workforce တွေကိုဒေါ်လာနဲ့မလားမသိဘူးပေးမယ်လို့ပြောတယ်အဲ့ဒါကဘာကိုပြောချင်တာလဲမသိဘူးဟို organization တစ်ခုဆို$နဲ့ပေးမှာလားလူတစ်ယောက်ချင်းစီကို$နဲ့ပေးမှာလားမသိဘူး
$10 per million input token and output token. Mini and Nano are even faster and more affordable. Nano, don't sleep on it. It's
အကောင်းဆုံး model ကိုသုံးတင်တယ် reasoning model လည်းမကောင်းကိုတက်လည်းဟို profit ကြံဖို့စီးပွားရေးလို့အဆင်မပြေဘူးဆိုရှင်တော့မသုံးနေဘူး back if you are in America that might hit different yeah but we live in Asia right
It is a great privilege. It is a great privilege for me to work alongside this incredible group of brilliant people driven by this shared goal.
ပုံမှန်စကားပြောလို့ရအောင်တလုံးချင်းစီကိုပြောနေတာ
GPT-5 are years of investigations aimed not only at producing a great release, but at building understanding of this underlying technology itself. And so a lot of what you'll see in this model are really just early glimpses of new ideas that we believe will go much further. There is a lot we still have to understand, and we look towards a future where AI can uncover new knowledge about the world and meaningfully transform our lives for the better. We hope you'll enjoy what we've built, and we'll get back to sailing. Thank you.
touch animation တွေကိုတဘောကြတယ်ရိုးလေးနဲ့ simple ဖြစ်
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In this holiday special, we continue with the journalist Karen Howe, author of the new book, Empire of AI, Dreams and Nightmares in Sam Altman's OpenAI. She came into our studio in May. She talked about how AI will impact workers.
One of the things that we have seen is this technology is already having a huge impact on jobs. Not necessarily because the technology itself is really capable of replacing jobs, but it is perceived as capable enough that executives are laying off workers. And we need some kind of more guardrails to actually prevent these companies from continuing to try and develop labor automating technologies and try to shift them to producing labor assistive technologies.
What do you mean?
So OpenAI, their definition of what they call artificial general intelligence is highly autonomous systems that outperform humans in most economically valuable work. So they explicitly state that they are trying to automate jobs away. I mean, what is economically valuable work but the things that people do to get paid? But there's this really great book called Power and Progress by MIT economists Jeroen Acemoglu and Simon Johnson, who mention that technology development, all technology revolutions, they take a labor automating approach not because of inevitability, but because the people at the top choose to automate those jobs away. They choose to design the technology so that they can sell it to executives and say, you can shrink your costs by laying off all these workers and using our AI services instead. But in the past, we've seen studies that, for example, suggest that if you develop an AI tool that a doctor uses rather than replacing the doctor, you will actually get better healthcare for patients. You will